I've been having issues with my internet for a very long time now. It comes in and out and in and out. I had it full swing. My computer dropped, broke my Ethernet port. My wireless card was on the fritz. So for some reason, we were having issues, some sort of frequency cancellation of a wireless signal of some sort. I don't know. I'm not a cable guy. I don't know how it works, but when the people upstairs moved in, they hooked up their internet. We lost ours. The same thing happened to the people upstairs when we moved in here. Anyway, to make a long story short, my internet's bunk. It's random. I catch random wireless signals from my neighbor because they're so sweet and they let us latch on when we can. But I couldn't. So I thought, what are we going to do? How are we going to do the Exopolitical Pulse? Well, that's easy. We go old school. We go old school. We get a magazine. And it's a great idea. I love it because there's a number of fantastic magazines out there, a number of which I've wanted to look at for a while. Well, a couple anyway. I had a few options to choose from. I had Bill Burns' UFO magazine, which is great. Stan's in there. He's got his own column. The big focus in UFO magazine this issue is it Richard Dolan? Yeah, Richard Dolan's on the cover, I believe. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And there's all kinds of neat articles in there. So then I skip over, and I always wanted to check out Alejandro Rojas's magazine, Open Minds. I've been hearing about that for so long. Beautiful magazine, by the way. Like full-color, glossy pages the whole way through. Reasonably priced, too. I mean, it's a little more expensive than Bill Burns' mag, but the quality is, much better. Obviously, but they didn't really have any attention-grabbing stories that I was really digging, although this is interesting. I knew it when I first saw the movie back in the late 90s, but do y'all remember the quote-unquote supposed Roswell alien abduction video? It's like that grainy video. It supposedly came from the 40s. The film dated back to that period. It was, all the equipment in the room was dated to that period. Anyway, there's new evidence that suggests that was a hoax. Ooh, surprise, right? I saw that coming a long way off. So I wasn't too into that story. One of the main stories in the issue was the Vatican. The Vatican coming out and saying, look, if there's extraterrestrial life, big deal. It just proves, that God has a larger scope than was originally believed. They would be our space brothers, and we'd have to accept that they're out there. The evidence is there, so we should pay attention. What was the other big story in Open Minds? Those were the two main ones. So I thought, I'm not digging the Open Minds. And then I found this British publication. I've never even heard of it before, called Paranormal. Straight up Paranormal, the Paranormal Magazine. It's a British publication, and there's all kinds of neat stuff in here. Some neat stories that I'm intrigued with, because lately there's this one story on the cover that I've kind of been pondering quite deeply recently. And the article's called Aliens from Earth. Have they been here all the time? And it's an interesting question. So I'm going to read that article, or at least part of it. There's also a couple cool little tidbits here. There's a little blurb on life on Mars that was discovered, that was published in The Sun on April 28th. And what else am I going to do? A couple other cool stories. So we're kicking it old school. We're featuring the magazine Paranormal, and you can reach them online at paranormalmagazine.co.uk. This is issue number 49. This is July 2010's issue. I'm going to start off here with this paranormal short entitled Life on Mars. The latest evidence for possible life in the solar system is the most compelling of all. A space probe sent to Mars has revealed the likely presence of a form of pond scum containing the building blocks of life. NASA scientists state the probe has discovered the presence of sulfates on Mars, particularly calcium phosphate, also called gypsum. The space missions have shown that the red planet has vast areas covered in sulfates, while research here on Earth has proved that gypsum preserves organic matter. New missions are now being planned, with scientists optimistic at finding evidence of ancient life in the gypsum. So that's cool. A little blurb there on life on Mars. We all saw this coming too. Surprise, surprise, right? But it's still a cool little tidbit. What else do we got here from the paranormal short section of this paranormal magazine? Oh, by the way, I have to tell you, this magazine covers all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's not as focused as I like UFO magazine, Open Minds magazine. They're more exopolitical based. This one is like the whole plethora of the paranormal. So we go from ghost ships to zombie queens, creepy churches, and UFO stories like this one, Aliens from Earth. But it does not come at a cheap price. Open Minds and UFO magazines are reasonable. Being a little bit more local, this coming from overseas, it cost me almost $14 Canadian. Okay, man, that's not cheap. But anyway, here we go. We toil every day, 5-6 days a week, to buy a $13 magazine once every 3 months because that's the state of the world. But whatever, right? My glass is half full, and I'm glad I have the magazine and had the opportunity to have a job to get the magazine. So whatever. This little article is called Wormhole. I thought this was kind of neat when I read this. You might enjoy this too. I didn't even hear of this before. The source for this is creme.com from April 27. A legendary giant worm from the USA has finally been found again. After years of searching, scientists at the University of Idaho have captured 2 specimens, one adult and one juvenile, of the Palouse earthworm in Washington state. 3 cocoons were also found, 2 of which have hatched. University of Kansas earthworm expert Sam James has positively identified the worms, which have been considered possibly extinct or even mythical. The adult is more than 10 inches, 25 centimeters long, which is a pretty big earthworm, if you think about it, but has so far disproved the legend that it can spit, or that it smells of lilies. So, there you go. Giant earthworm there. What else do we got in here? Oh, this is a great one. Here it is. This is one of the reasons, other than the Aliens from Earth article, this is the other reason I bought this mag. This is cool. Let me see here. The source here is BBC News, and it comes from May 5th. It's entitled Alien Spaceship Claim by Russian Official. I hadn't even heard of this before. But anyway, here it is in Paranormal Magazine. Regional leader announces he has made first contact with extraterrestrials. On a primetime television interview, Kirsan Ilyumzinov, sorry folks, regional president of the southern Russian region of Kalmykia, announced that he had been taken on board an alien spaceship which had come to planet Earth to take samples. Yeah, you heard me right. And he says there were several witnesses to the epic-making event. Fellow MP Andrei Lebedev has written to the Russian president Dmitry Medvedev, questioning Mr. Ilyumzinov's sanity and asking whether he is fit to govern. But he is also concerned that he might be telling the truth. If so, he says, it was an historic event, and when Mr. Ilyumzinov should have reported it to the Kremlin. And he should have reported it to the Kremlin. Not only that, but if he may have given away state secrets and therefore would be guilty of a breach of national security. Mr. Ilyumzinov is a millionaire businessman and has been president of Kalmykia, a small Buddhist region which lies on the shores of the Caspian Sea, for 17 years, folks. He is also the president of the World Chess Federation, but has a reputation as an eccentric character. In his letter to President Medvedev regarding Mr. Ilyumzinov's claim, Mr. Lebedev also asks the president whether there are any official guidelines for what government officials should do if they are ever contacted by aliens. Paranormal Magazine would love to know if such guidelines exist for any nation, not just Russia. So that's pretty cool. You know, this guy of high rank in Russia claiming to have been taken aboard a craft. Very interesting. I'd be interested to see a little bit more information on that. Like, what was the exchange? What did he learn? What did they tell him? Was there an exchange? Does he remember any of that stuff? They just simply, it's coming from the BBC, so they just simply don't probe deep enough. But interesting nonetheless. What else do we got here? I'm loving this. I'm loving this whole magazine idea here for the Exopolitical Pulse. Everything's just so digital, 1 and 0, zip, let's do it, get it over and done now. And it's nice to have a mag here. You can hear it ruffling through the papers. It's great. Oh, okay now. Great. Here's a UFO sighting. The source is The Sun from April 10th, 2010. Air threat. An unknown cameraman took footage which apparently shows 2 military jets chasing a UFO over the M5 in the West Midlands, taken from a service station car park. Nick Pope remarked, "This is one of the best videos I've seen. It could be a new drone. That might explain the military jets, but you don't normally test fly secret projects in daylight. Alternatively, this could be the real thing. A UFO in our airspace and military aircraft scrambled to intercept, probably due to it being tracked on radar," unquote. The MOD refused to comment, but did agree that they perceived any air threat to the UK, they would scramble jets to intercept that danger. So there you go. Very interesting indeed. What else do we got here? I'll read you another short one. This is... I'll read you... two more. This is called Ball of Flames. Mid-April, Bangor, North Wales. A couple were walking home at midnight when they noticed a shining light in the sky. They at first thought it may have been a Chinese lantern until it moved from side to side, then shot down and back up. One witness said, "I wasn't sure what to make of it as it just disappeared in a ball of flames after 5 minutes. Strangely enough, I was out with my girlfriend again a couple of nights later when we noticed 2 of the lights above the Menai Straits, this time with about 5 accompanying smaller lights around each of them." Wow, so that comes from www.uk/ufo.co.uk from April. I don't know what to say about that. It does sound like Chinese lanterns to me. I wanted to read that because I witnessed a similar kind of event when I was younger in Cape Breton with a couple other family members. It was more like a massive fiery meteorite, not like this, but nonetheless, grabbed my attention. Here's one entitled Light Beam. This guy's fantastic if you don't know him. His name is Lon Strickler. He's got a website, Phantom and Monsters. It says here, Lon Strickler of the website Phantoms and Monsters received an email and video footage of what is described as a beam of light over a field in Wiltshire on the 3rd of May. The witness observed the light through night vision equipment and said, quote, "Throughout the night, we witnessed many unusual sightings of lights. Fields lit up with pale blue flashes, streaks of 3 white lights." End quote. The footage can be seen at naturalplane.blogspot.com, and the source there is Lon Strickler, Phantoms and Monsters. That's a fantastic site. I know the boys there, Ben Grundy and Aaron Wright, really, they like Lon stuff. This is very cool. This is entitled Star Wars. This comes from MUFON in April. On the 4th of April, a male witness in Missouri claims he saw 2 UFOs firing missiles at each other. He said, quote, "I first saw what I thought was a helicopter. I watched for some time and then saw the light fire a missile, which hit another similar ball of light. The 2 lights then threw missiles at each other for some time until finally the second light zigzagged back and forth and disappeared as though it had been destroyed." The witness mentions a similar incident in the area in 1997 in which a cow was found dead the next morning. So there's some interesting UFO stories for you. War of the Spaceships. Very cool. All right, that brings us to the end of the shorts and on to our main article in the Exopolitical Pulse. It's not called Aliens from Earth, actually. That's what it says on the cover. The article's actually called They Came from Planet Earth. Bid farewell to the extraterrestrials and say hello to the crypto-terrestrials. Nigel Watson examines the research of the late Mac Tonnies. Is he right that so-called aliens are not from outer space at all, but have always been living right here on Earth? Let's check this out. Now, some of these radio broadcasts will go and they'll give you blurbs and then move on. I'm going to read I'm going to try and read the majority of this article because this is fantastic.